Good afternoon, and welcome to the webinar Rethinking the Future of Lending in the New Normal, organized by Infopro Sdn Bhd. Let me introduce myself. I will be the moderator today, and my name is Roslan. I'm from Infopro Sdn Bhd, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. Before we proceed, please be advised that all participants' audio and video will be muted and blank. And if there is any question, please raise it through the Q&A option. To start, let me take this opportunity to introduce what and who is Infopro all about. Infopro has been incorporated 34 years ago. We are in the business of 34 years. We have 100 sites in 32 countries, and we have 100% successful implementation. We have enterprise banking system and also digital customer experience, which will help the financial institution to bring digital customer experience to their customers and also to their users. We have cloud banking and we have artificial-driven banking. Industry recognition, we have been recognized by best. Pardon my mouth, a slip of tongue. It's in the middle of afternoon. We have been awarded Best Practices in Information Technology 2020, awarded by PCOM. We have been awarded Best Islamic Financial Software Provider for 2019 by the Islamic Finance News. We also have been awarded Best Core Banking Solution Provider 2020 by FinTech Futures. And we also won the award of Financial and Accounting Solution FinTech 2020, APITA, awarded by PCOM. Digital Challenges Bank. Why we need to digitalize our bank so that we can reach new markets. We provide technology with bespoke configuration. We build innovative and pioneering products and services with highly flexible product engine. With what this means is that the banks, the financial institution, the customers will be able to fast deploy their banking product to make it faster and quicker so that they can easily and quickly reach for the market. And at the same time, customer acquisition. They'll be able to acquire customer quickly with remote onboarding, automated know your customer checks, and artificial intelligence-based credit decisioning. Artificial intelligence will provide automated process, smart decisioning, and also unveil insights. Our solution are AI-driven digital platform. We have 4 major product lines. We categorize it into core banking, digital, risk compliance, and analytics with over 52 modules. Our core banking is flexible platform that pre-integrated with rich features and enhanced innovation enablers. And our digital allow customer-centric digital banking experience built for omni-channel touchpoint. Risk and compliance, we provide smarter solution for automated monitoring and oversight of risk and compliance. This allow the bank or the financial institution to automate the system so that there's no overlook on risk and compliance. Our artificial intelligence powered data analytics empower the superior decisioning and making better decision and automation. These are our solutions. We are full commercial banking, retail banking, corporate banking, Islamic banking, challenger bank, investment bank, non-bank digital lenders, and automotive financing. Our products, we categorize into 4 core products: core banking, digital, risk compliance, and analytics. All this is incorporated using Infopro artificial intelligence-driven digital banking. This is an overview of how the core banking, the digital banking, the core banking, risk compliance, and analytics works. All this can be linked through API. We have the artificial intelligence for digital, so it allows agent banking, digital dealer, digital branch, digital retail banking, e-wallet, corporate banking, onboarding, and also watch banking. If in your particular country there is a watch banking, our system is able to cater for that. And this is an overlook of our core banking. We cover both conventional and Islamic product. We have loan origination, loan management, debt collection, litigation, deposit, trade finance, treasury, and wealth management. And in our Islamic product, we cater for financing origination, financing management, wealth management, trade finance, deposit, and other products. In our risk compliance, we cover enterprise risk management, asset liability management, regulatory reporting, anti-money laundering, AI credit scoring, compliance management, and for Islamic Bank, we have a module called Fatwa Management. Analytics, we have business performance analytics, we have customers analytics, we have visualization tools, which the user can define, which the user can set the reporting that is required. The business performance analytics will allow the customers to see where the business is coming from, which product are given the most profit to the bank, and where are we, in which area are we growing fast, so that the bank or the customers can focus on that area and to bring in business for the bank. In customer analytics, we're able to analyze which group of customers is giving us the most profit, which group of customers is not having a multiple product with us, which group of customers that we want to target in the campaign. So this will help the bank to quickly look at their customer profile and decide which product or what group of customers they want to target for their campaign. Okay. This is our Sharia compliance concept or principle under Islamic Sharia compliance. We are able to cater for most of the, in fact, all of the Islamic principle. For example, in deposit, al-wadiyah, kad, mudarabah, tawaruk, murabahah, by as-salam, istisnas, ijaratu ma'al-bay. So basically, what we're sharing is that we are able to cater for most Islamic principle. This is because of our exposure in 100 sites, because of our exposure with clients all over the world. We are able to share the knowledge on this principle. Now, this is our topic for today, rethinking the future of lending in the new normal. What COVID-19 has brought to us. COVID-19, the impact of business on COVID-19 on us. Last year, we were taken by surprise without warning. The closure of border, the closure of a country, the restriction on flying, the restriction of movement of the people within the country. People all over the world is not allowed to move. And as such, the employee of the company wouldn't be able to come into the office. The manufacturing are shut down because the staff couldn't come into the office to do the production. And this is the impact of COVID-19. And to the customers, they are not able to come into the organization, whether you are retail customers, whether you are corporate customers, whether you are a bank, whether you are a manufacturing, the customer is not able to do a face-to-face interaction. All face-to-face communication is stopped, whether we like it or not. The government of each particular country have implemented a restricted movement, and as such, a customer is not able to conduct their business. A customer is not able to approach their corporation or their organization or their retail outlet for that matter to transact their business. With that restriction, movement restriction in people or staff or employee of the company coming in, financial impact does comes into the picture. For the manufacturer, for the customers, for the suppliers, for the dealers, financially, all of us are being impacted because we couldn't transact the business as we normally do. We couldn't manufacture business as we normally do. Even if we could, we couldn't deliver our products to customers because of the restriction imposed, the closing of borders, the non-flying rules that is being implied all over the world. Supply chain are being broken because a producer of raw material could not deliver the products or their supply to the factories. Factories are unable to produce. Supply of parts, supply of services, supply of material couldn't take place because of this restriction. And technology. Now, at that time, we are still talking about moving into digital. Some of us are still thinking about digital, enhancing our system to be more digitalized. However, because of COVID-19 comes with a surprise which doesn't want us, technology was at halt. Whatever we have at that moment is the one actually hampering us from going further. Our plans are being pushed forward. Our plans for looking at digital in the future has been stopped because nothing could move. Technology at that time, we are stuck with the existing technology that doesn't allow us to go beyond face-to-face, to go beyond interaction without meeting the customers. To go, the technology at the time doesn't allow us to interact or to bring in customers without meeting face to face. Okay. Some countries, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the Japan Financial Authority, the Singapore Financial Authority, and also the Malaysian government have taken steps to help out to boost the economy. For example, in Malaysia, the government have taken steps to impose a moratorium on loans for about 6 months, with the impact, or with the thoughts that the people, in terms of economically, because of jobs are being, people are losing their jobs, manufacturing businesses are closing down, businesses are not operating. So the government apply a moratorium, meaning allowing the customers a 6-month breather from servicing the loan. And some other states, some other countries are doing, for example, in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong monetary authorities are encouraging voluntary initiative from banks, such as a fee reduction in credit card facilities, principal moratorium for residential and commercial mortgage. And this, hoping that this will help the economy to continue, because non-movement in the economy is bad. This impact is not only on local, but also global. This is our communication. Basically, if you want to get in touch with us, let me take this opportunity to introduce our speakers for today. Today, panelists will share their views and thoughts on the impact of COVID-19 and also the rethinking of the future of lending in the normal business. Allow me to introduce the panelists of our webinar today. Mr. Chong Kok is on the extreme left, is the Chief Digital Officer for Infopro Sdn Bhd. He heads the Strategy Product Management Division. He is a technology innovation advocate specialized in technology enablement, digital transformation, and innovation across fintech, banks, and other financial institutions. He works closely with both incumbents and new challenger banks in strategy planning and digitalization innovative. On the left is Mr. Wu Swee Tek from Secure Metric Technology. With over 10 years experience in the areas of fintech and IT securities, Mr. Wu is the current Vice President of Regional Sales for Secure Metric Technology, the leading PKI system enabler in ASEAN. He's always passionate about digital security and fintech, and he is a strong advocate of PKI and building a common ecosystem for secure ID exchange across ASEAN. Mr. Puan Cheng Yi, representing Dell Technologies. Mr. Chua has 15 years experience in IT industries, previously working in IBM and Lenovo. Current role in Dell Technologies is Channel System Engineer. Mr. Pua's primary role is to work with Dell channel partners to propose suitable solutions to customers. His focused portfolio are Dell infrastructure solution, which includes enterprise storage solutions, server, networking, virtualization, HCI, cloud, and more. And last but not least, our final speakers for today, Mr. Ryan Chan. Mr. Ryan Chan is from Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation Sdn Bhd, MDEC, the Head of Business Development, Global Growth Acceleration Division. Mr. Ryan leads the business development initiative and interventions, providing business expansion support to portfolio companies and developing business networks and launchpads. Prior to joining MDEC, he was the Chief Business Officer at ASX listed iCentric Limited, where he built up the enterprise mobility business unit in Southeast Asia region. That is a brief introduction of who we are at Infopro and our panelists for today. Without further ado, we'll then start looking at how the panelists' views, how the panelists' thoughts, and our discussion for today will be able to help the industries, will be able to help the lending, the financial institution in looking at how to grow, on how to bring new technologies into their business. I think let's start with Mr. Ryan. How are you, Mr. Ryan? How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction.
Thank you. So we've seen COVID-19 and we've seen what's the impact on overall. However, I think Mr. Ryan, being in MDEC, I'm sure you see more than us seeing what's happening. So what is the impact on impact to the SME that accelerate their digital transformation?
Right. So I think the slide that you showed earlier, the one with COVID-19 and the impact to all the different players within the economy, I think that summed it up very nicely. Obviously with the pandemic coming in and the various measures that almost all governments all over the world implemented, right? Whether we call it quarantine, whether we call it movement control order, a lockdown, or shelter in place, I think that all of these have the same effect, right? Basically, I think it forces us to change the way that we work. It forces us to change the way that we interact with our colleagues, with our customers, our suppliers, our vendors, and so on. And essentially just change the whole way of life for many of us over months, right? And when it comes to SMEs, I think it's particularly pertinent. I feel it's because if we look at statistics, SMEs are actually 99% of all businesses in Malaysia, and I believe that's quite similar in all countries all over the world, right? SMEs are the bulk of the economy, and they are the bulk of the GDP. In fact, in Malaysia, I think they contribute close to 39% of GDP, employing 67% of workers within the economy. So it is a very big impact to them, and we know that they are probably one of the more vulnerable business entities within the economy. So we've seen that with the pandemic, I think that has no doubt accelerated and to a certain extent, I won't say accelerated, it left us no choice, right? Everyone had to adapt to digital. And we've also seen, how the impact has been different according to different sectors, right? So obviously, travel, hospitality related businesses, I think they really suffered the most and they bore the brunt of these measures. To a certain extent, I think F&B sector has been hit as well. With no doubt, we had all these food delivery apps coming in and so on, but the fact that they weren't able to serve walk-in customers, I think that probably reduced a lot of the revenue and the margins. We know that when it comes to an F&B business, most margins are probably, the majority of the margin is probably made on things like drinks and so on, which if you're ordering through a platform, that's probably something that you would cut down. So I think that also affected them. So we see the difference in terms of the impact on different sectors, although many were able to transform into digital. However, having said that, I think e-commerce no doubt saw a big increase in terms of adoption. We have seen, how things like, for example, cashless payments, I think that has accelerated in the last 1 year, right? So before this, I hardly used any of these e-wallet or QR code based kind of payments. But I think overnight, a lot of people just switched over, and we could see also in merchants, right? They also switched and adopted a lot of these payment channels also. So that's something that is a positive, yeah. And we see this that is something that will continue because people have already been used to this. I think they've seen the possibilities. So now I think the main impact to SMEs would be now, number one, you have no choice. You have to digitally transform your business. And with this kind of digital transformation, I think it opens up new avenues, new channels, new sales channels, ability to look at new products and new services, new business models, and perhaps even exploring new markets and new segments of customers that may not have been able to be served before. Now, the other challenge would be then, how do you then predict some of these changing demographics or changing needs and requirements that we have with this kind of changes? And in fact, so much so, with that 1 year behind us, I think the other question would be, what kind of behavior sticks? What kind of behavior would change, and what would be reverting back to pre-pandemic time? So I think that's something that every kind of business, no matter the size, will have to grapple with and to be able to understand, and perhaps even look at internally within their processes also to see what kind of processes and what kind of monitoring they have to do to be able to then identify these shifts and then change that approach as they go along. So that's another form of digitalization, right? What kind of signals do you read from the market? Do you look at social media? Do you look at getting feedback directly from the customers? And then how do you collect this feedback? How do you analyze this kind of feedback? I think that's also something that they need to look at, and how do you use this to make data-driven kind of decisions within your organization? Now, across the board, we've also seen a lot of SMEs adopting more basic kind of technologies and more basic kind of systems that we've introduced. And I think that's something that we're also trying to encourage, primarily through things such as accounting and taxation systems, procurement, inventory, digital marketing, e-commerce, and point of sale systems and HR systems. I think those would be one of the more basic building blocks that we would encourage most SMEs to adopt. And hopefully, government should play a role in that. I think we've seen, and I won't go into detail, it's all available in the public domain. We've seen a lot of government grants available to SMEs to adopt these kind of solutions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ryan. I think very interesting, the choice of words of no choice. No choice. I think COVID-19 leaves us no choice. We have seen many SME have escalate their business very, very well when they adopt the digitalization. Of course, there are some SMEs and some retailers out there are still not open to that, or not taking the digital approach quickly. And as such, we can see that they're being left out. The increase of digital transaction, for example, the e-wallets, non-touch payment methods is growing very fast. And I think around the corners, if you can see, especially in Kuala Lumpur, some of the food operators are even using contactless payment. So that is quickly coming up. Thank you, Mr. Ryan, for your thoughts and views on that. Maybe, Mr. Ike, if you could share with us, how does the COVID-19 impact the financial service sector?
Okay, thank you, Roslan. So we have heard from Ryan about the actual impacts to the entire society, also different industries. Okay, so the main problem now is actually the long-lasting effect of this COVID-19, because it is not only going away in very short period of times, like 3 months or 4 months, but it actually span across a year, or maybe going forwards to 2 and 3 years, depends on the countries. So this will lead to a problem with the SMEs as well as their employees. So for the SMEs, if you look at the records, there are more than 20,000 of companies closing down last year alone in Malaysia. So what happened to the employees, that they were losing their jobs? So at the same time, both the employer and employees is facing the cash flow problems. So what will they do is basically they will typically go to the bank. Probably they will go for a refinancing or moratorium or restructuring the existing loans accounts, and to get a better liquidity on the cash. If not, they will ask for a new loans. Okay, when they come to apply for a new loan, but at the same time, because of the poor economy leading towards a very poor credit conditions, so bank is actually tidying up their disbursements of new loans. So they are not giving away so easily like last time, right? So this will become a challenge to the society or the community at the moment. And we observe that there are the rising, the emerging of the new type of a business. So it serves as an opportunity to some others. Okay, in this case, we are sharing some of these, like for instance, number one, the consumer turns to a pawn shop and Aranu if it is in Malaysia. You will realize that the moment when the lockdown has been removed, what happened is people is rushing to the pawn shop to pawn their gold and their jewelries for cash. So that is actually happening. So in a media interview with the CEO of a Co-op Bank Pertama, Encik Muhammad Noor Abdul Razak, he says that, okay, Aranu has become a microfinancing for hawkers and petty traders. Okay, it is true, because they don't have the credits. They are the most vulnerable underserved segments. So what can they do under the current economic situations? So what they can do is just going after this pawn shop business, okay, to pawn whatever they have, just to actually to help them to actually continue to survive. Okay, now the banks actually makes 290 million ringgit of revenue last year alone, despite the pandemic and the lockdown situation in Malaysia for months. Okay, so that is equivalent to $70 million, which is a very huge revenues. Okay, I would say that is a very successful. And they are actually looking at a higher target this year to achieve a 350 million ringgit revenue for 2021. So we will see that we saw that these pawn shops at Aranu has become a rising business, especially during the pandemic. Okay, the next one is basically the emerge of the buy now and pay later schemes. Okay, if you realize that internationally there's a very successful fintech giants like Klarna, where they started in Germany and they have built up a very strong database with 90 over millions of users across with 200,000 over merchants. Okay, so they operates across Europe with highly successful and profitable. And if you look back in Malaysia, we have a very similar player which names Split. Okay, so they just started last year, and they managed to actually generate more than 10 million ringgits in revenue in just a couple of months. Okay, so that is comes to around 2.45 million in US dollar with a very strong profit driven. Okay, so they offer 3 months interest-free installment to the customers. This is in turn will help to relieve the customers, the retail customer, when it comes to purchase. Okay, so at least you have a little bit of buffer, a 3 months deferment. Okay, before you actually have to actually fork up your own savings money for all these unnecessaries. Okay, so what happened is Splits actually they provide a very good channel. So they have this channel agnostic platforms to enable the customers to actually accessing their services through online and also offline. So if you are going after offline shopping, go to a normal physical retailer shops, what happens is just present the QR codes, download the apps and present the QR code, and then you will be able to access into these free installments. Okay, and compared to the online, these services, they actually connected to existing major platforms like e-commerce, social medias, and chat. So that will help them to actually bring inflows customers into their platform very quickly, and this is also helping them to actually generating more revenues faster than ever, especially during this difficult periods. Okay, and we also see that Hong Leong Bank, as a bank with offerings of a debit cards installment payment scheme. So they are among the earliest who actually offering this buy now pay later in the form of an installment payment, where if you actually purchase any goods using your debit cards, you have an options that you will be able to turn it into an installment via just a simple SMS activations. I think from here we see that there is a new ideas or opportunities during these difficult times where the businesses will be able to actually benefit from all these new types of financing products. Okay, the third one is basically looking at the non-bank lenders, which is going online. Okay, now we hear from Ryan just now, SMEs is going online because customers themselves going online. So people tend to do a cashless payment more than ever, right? Okay, now the governments, the Ministry of Housing and Local Governments, okay, the KPKP in Malaysia, who actually has just issued 8 online money lender licenses in November last year. That they given to Grabs, Axiata, BigPay, GHL, and a few others. Okay, so this is efforts where governments is looking at to help to digitalize because of the difficulties in the social distancing or the way to interact with human. So the applications or the disbursements of the loans can now happen everything online. So you are digitizing the customer experience in actually accessing to your credit facilities. So this is something that very welcome from the countries. Now we saw from all these 3 examples, okay, we saw a very strong headwinds on pawn shop, on the Aranu, on the buy now and pay later scheme, as well as the online lenders. Okay, so this as this type of business actually rising up to be successful because of the actually accelerations pushed by pandemic. Okay. Okay, back to you, Roslan.
Okay, thank you, Ike. I think yes, the lending business are being compassionate to the people in trying to help the people to sustain the challenges, the financial challenges during COVID-19. new ideas, new thoughts of products are coming up to the market. And yes, you mentioned Aranu, where the pawn shop, we can actually, in Malaysia, you get literally a long line of people going into the Aranu or pawn shop trying to get a quick cash. And I think digitization online is the formula to come up from COVID-19. Maybe Mr. Pua is from Dell. Maybe you can share with us your what do you see? I mean, in terms of Dell perspective during the pandemic.
Yep. Hi. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your what you call introduction. And yeah, I think we have heard what you call Ryan and EK. So pretty much the same thing, right? So if you guys can see my screen, not sure whether you can see my screen, but so first of all, what has changed over the past year, right? So I think Ryan has mentioned that a lot of people using e-wallet, online merchandising, and what you call food delivery. So what if? So the question a lot of people is asking, what if all this technology is not ready yet? So are we going to survive? So basically, I think there are people that are ready, and they have taken the opportunity. They actually capture a lot of market, right? So a lot of questions come into our mind, right? So after this pandemic, so just now we said, we asked, do we still need to carry cash nowadays, right? Because a lot of the adoption of e-wallet is very high. Do we really need to go to shop again, right? Most probably not. Do we need to go to the bank again? Probably no, right? Do we need to go to office to have face-to-face meeting? A lot of them, it can be achieved with technology, right? So this is a comic which I believe a lot of people have seen this, right? Who had led the digital transformation of your company? Is it your CEO? Is it the CTO? Or is it the COVID-19? So this is again a comic, but it's very true, right? The pandemic actually has accelerated digital transformation. So from Dell point of view, or from a technology point of view, so what we have observed. So there are some figures here, as you can see, right? So 74% of a company, right? So they have tried a what you call work from home, right? Without a choice, and because work from home probably is not a bad idea anymore, right? They have tried it. They keep their business alive, right? So 74% of our customer plan to permanently shift to a more remote workforce post COVID-19. So the question here is: a company ready for, or your infrastructure or your system, is it ready for at least half of your workforce is working remotely from home, right? So the second column, as you can see, a on-demand model adoption, right? So the easiest way to relate is like cloud. So earlier, I think EK also mentioned that there are a lot of ideas, a lot of new offering, a lot of new services, right? To explore new market segment, new countries, right? So how do all these entrepreneurs create new services? It's actually, at that moment, it's very hard to purchase a hardware, very hard to deploy a hardware in very short time and start their idea. So a lot of people are looking at on-demand model, which is public cloud, right? 34% grew in the Q1 of 2020. So there's a lot of double-digit growth. So last but not least, what we observe also on a serious note is there's a lot of cyber attack, right? 39 seconds, every 39 seconds there's a so-called cyber attack. So as more company need to offer work from home, right? Need to offer a lot of online services. There are more faces to be attacked. So that's why they also need a lot of security too, right? Security is very important. So I think there have been a lot of ransomware cases, right? That has happened, right? In Malaysia or in international area. I think in recent there's a Taiwan PC manufacturer also attacked by ransomware, right? So not just that it will cause a so-called loss in revenue, actually the worst thing is it costs a reputation, right? Reputation of keeping safe your company data, your customer data, right? So these are a few things that we think that customer needs to think about it, right? Post pandemic, right? Have a strategy of working from home, modernize your environment so that you have on-demand or cloud-like kind of infrastructure so that you can actually create new services, new offering, and also looking at security. So Dell, as an example, right? So Dell ourselves, so we are one of the example that we managed to survive in this pandemic. So even as we speak now, we are in RMCO, but Dell, myself, we can't go back to the office. We are not allowed to go back to office. We are still encouraged to work from home, right? Except those, we call it mission critical, tier one employee that needs to go to the office. Only they are allowed. So basically, Dell is enabling a remote workforce, right, to keep the employee, the community, and also the customer safe, right? So we have over 100,000 of our team members, our colleague working remotely, right? So we actually can offer the know-how to implement a what you call work from home, a digital yet connected workplace. So this is some figure from APJ, right? So we have 2.8 thousand of a so-called notebook. We have a lot of work from home, soft phones. We have Zoom meeting like this across APJ, right? We have 48,000 of our colleague working from home, right? And we actually have a double of a service desk contact, right? So a lot of this, and we managed to enable this digital workforce and then continue to strive in the market, right? So that is actually, I would say, one of the point of view from Dell. So I can share more in probably some later topics. Okay, back to you, Roslan. Yep.
Sure, Mr. Paul. Thank you very much. I think you put it right on the spot, because it's not about the CEO or the CTO or the CIO driving the digital transformation anymore. I think it's about COVID-19. It's about survival in COVID-19 and the acceleration of the digital transformation or digital growth is so quick. Within a year, we can see so many things happening in digitalization. COVID-19 has, I think, in that sense, successful in digitalizing all of us. I think back to you, Ike. I think we have seen I mean, yes, it's agreed by all the speakers, all the panelists, and it's agreed that the digital acceleration has taken place during the pandemic. Maybe if you can share with us in what form digital transformation is taking place in the lending industries.
Thank you, Roslan. Basically, digital transformation is not new, where banks and the lending companies perhaps is slightly behind, but banks is already actually implemented a lot of transformation strategies since a couple of years before this. It's just that as we actually experienced it when it comes to the impact of COVID, yes, like what Pua just mentioned, it actually accelerates the budgets and then the needs to actually goes into digital transformations. Okay. So in our view, basically we see that when we actually servicing our customers, they're actually looking at digitalization in 4 areas. Okay, number 1, which is on the customer experience. Okay, the front end applications, they will dump a lot of investment into improving their front end applications to getting a better customer experience, faster, easier, more convenient, frictionless. This is to help them to actually grow their business. So when it comes to customer acquisitions, so that helps them to go to the market quickly, especially during this period whereby you can actually acquire customer without seeing them or without asking customer to submit the form physically at the branch. So that's why this is one area that actually a lot of investments was actually put into this eKYC's customer onboarding, which with the use of facial recognitions, digital signatures. So it's able to help you to onboard the customers so you can apply a loans practically from home. Like the 8 licenses just issued from the KPKT that allows them to actually complete the entire loan applications and disbursement online. Okay. And you can bring this to the next step to make it real time. Okay. For those lower risk kind of products, probably you can do an instant loans approval with the use of artificial intelligence. The technologies is in place today that will help you to actually provide this unmatched customer experience. So next is on the back office. Okay, so after actually you set up your digital customer strategy, so the next thing is actually looking into your business operations efficiency at the back office. So areas like how to automate the processes, how can we actually run the same operation with a leaner operations, okay, which you require lesser human, more automation services in place, okay. And you're also looking into how you can actually allowing your workforce or your employees to work remotely. Okay, you require a secure access into your applications, and you require a very optimized robot advisories that can help your customers to do the job at ease. So all this is actually contributing to the improving of the efficiency on the bank, the lending operations. Okay, so the focus is for them to actually lower down the operating costs, at the same time improving the operational efficiency. Okay, and the third one is of course talking about the risk and compliance. Okay, when it comes to the lending, so the most important thing is talking about the PD, LGD, and ECL, and also how is the compliance towards this FRS 9. Okay, if it is Malaysia, we are talking about MFRS 9. So we need to have a very clear visibilities on the performance of all these statistics or these accounts. Okay, so to allow the banks to actually having early warnings, and then to take the corrective actions as early as possible. Okay, one of the main problems that banks faced last year is basically when the COVID-19 hits, okay, the credit behavior changed for everybody, be it for corporates, be it for retail, and the banks actually is not ready to adapt to these changes to the credit scoring behavior. So they don't know which are the good customer and which are the customer that actually may end up having a problem in the repayment later. Okay, so that is something that we have to relook into to improve the risk management capability of the operator. And the last part is talking about the business management. Okay, now we are bank or the financial institution need to build a very strong data strategy. So in two areas. Number one, which is talking about your business. You need to know which are your business areas which is performing and which are underperforming, whether by products, by branch, by sales, by whatsoever filtering that you are looking at. So in that case, that will help you to actually make a more informed decisions and help you to drive your top line and your bottom line. Okay, so the other type of data that you are looking at is the customer's data. Okay, so we need to actually collect enough customer data because we are actually building a customer-centric applications. So today's customers are educated, they are more demanding, they know what they want, they do not want you to annoy them with unnecessary marketing or whatsoever. Only engage your customer at the right moment when they have such a need, especially when they have a needs, a cash flow problem, you offer them with a fast credit line or whatsoever, that will be helpful. But if imagine you offer them the credit line every alternate week, you give them a call, that is going to be annoying. So that is how we should use technologies to actually uncover the insights, okay, or the needs of the customers at the right moment, and we match the products to them. Okay, so the key thing is putting the right technologies at the right place for the right purpose. So that will make the business more successful and resilient to even a COVID-19's impact. Okay.
Thank you.
That's our view.
I think now, as it is, even now still towards the end of March 2021, 1 year after COVID-19 came introduced itself to the world, social distancing are being practiced. Even in Malaysia, I think in some countries, social distancing is still the rules of the day, meaning that we face-to-face interaction, meetings are being only could be done online. I think you mentioned about customer experience, frictionless, and customer acquisition without face-to-face. And I think you did mention about eKYC. Could you share with us how actually this works? EK?
Yes. So basically, eKYC is in a form that, okay, traditionally, if you want to apply for a loans application, or even you want to open an account at the bank, you have to present yourself, because they have to actually do a physical KYC. They have to check, okay, whether are you the same persons that actually showing on your ID cards, right? So today, with the image of the new AI technologies, okay, we are able to actually replace this with mobile apps which will be able to do the facial recognitions. Imagine that you actually just need to do a few simple steps. Number one, just take a photo of your ID, front and back. Number two, take a photo of yourself. Number three, you do a liveness test of you to make sure that you are really a human. Number four, submit all the applications. And last but not least, do a digital signatures to complete your applications. So all the application, the processes can be actually reduced from weeks to maybe just minutes. Okay, this is actually a significant improvement that we saw not only in Malaysia, but in many countries. Singapore has taken it to the next step, whereby they already established their central national digital identity with the name of MyInfo, where their customers, the citizens, can apply loans through with the use of the SIM-Pass applications. Okay, I think MCMC Malaysia is also in the progress of setting up the very similar national digital identity. This will help us to actually fight against the identity frauds. Okay, and I believe it will bring the digital transformation into the next steps. Okay.
Okay, interesting, EK. Interesting about customer not coming on board, and I mean the system is able to recognize and identify a person, and also legally or checking on the legality and the genuineness of the person involved. And I think in that you also mentioned about customers submitting documents and signing off documents through a system. Maybe Mr. Wu, if you can actually share with us. How does we legally digitize the signature, and what options that we have? So.
Yeah, thanks, Ruslan. Actually, I would like to mention something that I picked up from Ryan just now during his very insightful message to all of us. I mean, he did mention that what will stay a behavior, or what will eventually just fade away after COVID moves away, right? So I personally, I think the fact I never ordered Grab ever, right? I like to take my family out to eat. I'm in sales, man, so we like to entertain, like, even our family. But lately, even during that RMCO period, I find myself actually ordering from Grab, although that I have the complete option to take my family out for a quick dinner. So what in Secure Metric, actually the digitization of signatures is one of our main objective well, we try to do what we can to help. People are very used to that gesture of taking a piece of pen and signing on an agreement, a loan document, for example. And one of our mission is actually to help do away with most of that, because if you plan to digitize something, at the end of the day, you still have to print out something for somebody to put on a wet signature to make it legal. It's just it defeats the whole purpose of the digitization journey, right? So on the legal aspect, we are very fortunate. Actually, Malaysia is one of the very early adopters. Back in 1997, we've already, I think, ratified the Digital Signature Act 1997. So inside that act, it's very clearly spelled what you need to do in order to have a document or a signature legally acceptable in the courts of law of Malaysia. So parts of it is using PKI technology, right? Parts of it is getting a digital certificate from a licensed certificate authority in Malaysia. So in essence, the standards have been set since back in 1997. So the challenge that we had during those days was the delivery of PKI services down to the masses is very, very tedious, right? So last time there were no options as mobile apps that you can just sign a transaction by just touching your fingerprint, and it is legally binding. So during those days when we started out doing it, we were contented. We had to resort to using hardware tokens, which had, on top of driver support problems, also logistic issues, of shipping this out to thousands of customers. So that itself is already solved with the delivery of mobile apps enabling digital signature. So in addition to the Digital Signature Act, there is also the E-commerce Act, which there's a certain segment inside that mentions the acceptance of electronic signature as a viable way to accept electronic documents and electronic signatures as legal, right? So the E-commerce Act is a little bit different in terms of its, I would say, strictness in compliance. Let's put it that way. DSA is very specific in the sense that there is that keyword that is float around the PKI world. So I use it a lot. Maybe a lot of people don't understand that term, non-repudiation, right? Non-repudiation pretty much means that if you do it, if you apply your signature digitally using the DSA method, right? The methods that are outlined in the Digital Signature Act, your signature becomes non-repudiation. That means when you present an e-document in the courts, that signature is, well, without a doubt, legally accepted, right? Without a doubt. And but electronic signature, I believe, came in to implement, to enable an easier way to facilitate quick signature. I mean, it's a little bit more user-friendly, easily adopted. For example, every day when we do an electronic banking transaction, there's an SMS OTP sent to us. To a certain extent, that is actually an e-signature. Or when you click on, when you subscribe to a website, when you accept the T&C, you just click on that button, that can be considered an electronic signature. Yeah, so with these two acts actually coming into play, I believe SMEs and banks, for that matter, have a lot of options to actually move along on the final bastion of digitization by just doing away with that wet signature, yet still remaining legal. Thanks.
All right, great. Mr. Wu, I think we have addressed the onboarding of the customers, where customers does not have to walk into a bank or to any lenders to get the facilities and to submit an application. And with the digital signature, that will have further, and as you put it, I think it will be recognized in court. So there is no reason for lending institutions, for banks, not to apply this in their day-to-day business. Because all is legalized, all is acceptable, so there's no issue because the AKYC will verify the person, digitalized will confirm that the digital signatures is valid and valid, and they can be used as documents or as a representation in courts. I think I need to touch up with Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, I think you did mention about the importance of data collection and analysis of data. Maybe if you can share what is your view on how Dell drive this digital transformation with your customers, relating to maybe data collection and analysis.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your question. Yeah. So I believe that we touch on data. So EK mentioned that we need a lot of data, right? Data is something like data is a new petrol, right? So people always say that. So we can actually use data, and we can actually come up with data is something that's raw. So you need analytics to make it become insights, right? So how do we, again, in a digital transformation, so how do we innovate with data that we have? I believe a lot of customers have their own data, right? They have their legacy system, they run ERP, they run CRM, right? So the question is, do they have a data strategy, right? How they can actually make use of the data, right? So have an innovative process so that they create insightful what you call information and help them to what you call make good decision, right? Good business decision. So in order to do that, basically, you need to modernize your infrastructure, right? If you are still using what you call older infrastructure, right, that might be a problem. So I'll try to share a little bit what you call more, right? Again, this is just our portfolio. We have a lot of experience in a what you call data storage. So one thing I want to highlight is, as you can see, the key thing here is you can see at the side is edge. So data no longer just sit inside our primary computer room or primary data center or the mainframe. So data has changed. So a lot of data is actually sitting at different places. It can be a sensor, it can be a what you call some terminal, right? Terminal that is able to scan your phone, can accept credit card, right? So now we have actually smart terminal that has a lot of a what you call function, right? So data can created from the edge, which is remote site or remote office. So some of the analytics is done locally. So that's why you need a modern what you call infrastructure solution, being a server or a storage to be able to support that, right? So, but a lot of our data is still sitting in our core data center, right? The data needs to be moved, or in a more technical term is replicate to the core data centers, right? To actually correlate with your data that you have in your legacy system, like your ERP, like your CRM, right? In order to make sense, right? Okay, so your technology should be able to what you call replicate to your core data center. You're able to move different application. You're able to access data, what you call between all these different applications. And just now I mentioned that in order to be very quick to respond to the market needs, new ideas, people are leveraging on cloud, right? People are starting what you call to create new offering or new services in the cloud. So data should be able to be migrate or to be referenced from the cloud as well, or even you have created some application or some data in the cloud, and because of data sovereignty, so which is a lot of customer or even government sector is concerned with data sovereignty, they want to bring back the data, or when they develop some solution in the cloud, when they want to run as production, they want to bring it down to their core data center so that they maintain and they secure the data sovereignty, right? So, but of course, it depends on application. There will be cases that data needs to be replicated to the cloud, because maybe cloud offer some unique services like AI analytics, right? And machine learning and what we call deep learning, etc. Right? So a modern technology is very important, right? When we talk about a data, right? Even innovating with data, right? So that is actually something Dell can help you or help the customer to achieve this innovation. Yep. So that's something that I could share.
Thank you. Those are the audience. If you have any question, please indicate that or put that in the Q&A chat box. I think due to the time constraint, let me go back to EK. I think we have seen, we have heard about eKYC, how customer can be on board. We have heard from Mr. Wu about digital signatures, and we have heard from Mr. Pua on the data analytic and also the usage of data. Why should the financial industries digitalize? I mean, why does the financial industries must digitalize their operations, their way they do business in order to survive? I think choosing the word survival is very important. It's not about having the historical way of doing things anymore because of COVID-19, not because the customer find it a challenge to go to the bank, but because COVID-19 really teachers really force us to have that distance, to keep that distance. So maybe, okay, why does the financial industries must digitalize in order to survive? If you can just share your thoughts on this. Audience, in view of time limit, I guess this will be my last question to the panelists. Ike, maybe if you can share something with us.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Ruslan. Basically, I would say it is not a choice whether you want to digitalize or not, because it has been happened. Okay, the race has been happened in the industries, whereby whether are you still remain as a laggard or you want to actually keep on pace with others. Okay, if not, you become the innovator who actually come up with a pilot with the new ideas and new business, like what Ryan just mentioned, probably the emerging of the new market segments or new business models. So digitalization is actually essential so that you can bring your technology platform up to date and enabling you to actually do more creativity and innovative, so that you can stay ahead of these challenges that's faced by all the peers. Okay, so this is how we actually help our customer to build a very business success model to help them to remain relevant and resilient in any conditions. Okay, so that's why, like the screens, okay, what we say is the digital transformation is actually imperative and essential, okay, but it is not a choice. Just to recap on what we actually saying just now, okay, in order to build a future-proof lending business, okay, so these are the key factors or features or the advantages or technologies that you might need to actually embrace. Number one, which is the eKYC onboarding, so that you can actually expand your digital footprint faster, cheaper, and easier without constraints to your physical presence. Okay, if you look at the banks today, they are closing number of branches, right? Especially during COVID, okay, they close down even more, right? And provide a better customer experience. Customers don't like to wait. Okay, that's why everything, if you can do it instantly, why not? Okay, the technology is there. AI credit scoring is another way to help them not only to automate the approval processes. The credit decision engines can help you to provide a recommendations, which is actually to help you to actually improve the quality of the approving processes, rather than depending on a very expensive human labor that may even makes a very high quality disease. Okay. And next is about the robustness in your risk management. So you need to make sure that the entire risk management frameworks and be able to actually stand against any crisis. So you need to be able to handle the crisis management. Okay, so say for instance, you need to have this capability to process the external data, the geographical data, the economy data, so that to bring those factors into your risk management. Okay. Data innovations, okay, and this is what Paul just shared a lot just now. Okay, the data is very important. It can be in the form of IoT or sitting everywhere in your house. You realize that there are people who already live in a smart home, whereby you can actually control your air conditioner, your aircon, your TV, everything using your smartphones, right? Now, if you bring all the data into place, so you build out a proper data strategy that will help you to prosper your business. Bring it back to the context of the lending. Of course, if you look at lending itself, you're quite restricted because you are only dealing with loans applications. But in a bigger perspective, if actually you have other businesses, let's say, for instance, it's the banks who can offer the deposit taking, or even a conglomerates businesses that you can actually bring in like wallets or any other things. So you will be able to bring your data and merge it into the other types of data to actually build these big data environments to actually benefit from here. Of course, when it comes to the regulated environment, you have to be extra careful about this data privacies when it comes to PTPA in Malaysia and GDPR in Europe, okay? And automation and speeds. with the actually with the properly designed data strategies that enables you to use the AI and automations to help you to provide a better services, improve your operational efficiencies. Imagine things can be done faster, easier, and more precise, okay, and less human error or no human error in this way, okay. And last but not least is today we have to adopt to this work from home culture. I believe many of us today is still now working from home, okay, unlike those days 2 years ago. Okay, now when this now the vaccine is here, so after the vaccinations we are expecting maybe the COVID-19 impact will be actually slow down in a year or half a year time. So what happened to the culture? I think the work from home culture will still stay. Of course, it will not be as maybe 30 or 40% of the people will still continue to work from home because they have been educated and then to adopt these new cultures. Okay, that's why a new solution, a new operation have to design in such a way that it will be able to take into place considerations that when you are having employees working remotely. In the current situation where banks practicing team A and team B for this contingency plan, but actually I think this type of behavior will actually continue to stay. Okay.
Okay, thank you, EK. Thank you for the insight on the journey. I think we have a question. I think Mr. Wu, this is addressed to you probably. Can hire purchase contracts in Malaysia using e-signature?
Very good question. It is a yes with a but. Okay. Well, technically, it depends on the implementation of e-signature because since you mentioned higher signature, I believe you must be in the lending business. Congratulations to you, sir.
Yeah.
Best business to be in right now. So it depends on the risk factor, right? Small contracts, like for example, accepting the T&C of Gmail, yes, e-signatures works fine. But when it comes to things that amount to a large sum of money, the best is you airtight your operations to make sure that in case if there's anything happen and there is, touch wood, some legal proceedings that need to be done, all of your angles as a lender is covered. So the but here comes in the use of legal complying to the Digital Signature Act rather than the E-commerce Act. Yeah, I believe that is probably the best angle or a best approach for a lender for hire purchase to take because of the actual value of the transaction. Yeah, it's quite big. So you don't want in the end dispute can come where people can say I did not sign this or whatever legal angle they may take because it is an e-signature, a simple e-signature, probably a scribble on an iPad, right, with the Apple Pencil. Yeah, that is considered an electronic signature, non-compliant to DSA, but complying to the Electronic Commerce Act. Right, so look at the compliance on Digital Signature Act when the risk gets higher and higher because you want that non-repudiation protection to be in place.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wu. I think the time is almost over for our discussion today. I wish we could have more time to discuss more in depth. Very interesting indeed to talk about digitalization, how to move forward, the sort of things. To the panelists, Mr. Puan, Mr. Wu, Mr. Ike, and Mr. Ryan, thank you very much for your participation. And to the audience out there, if you have any further questions, please, I will share my screen. Please email us, please communicate to us, let us know is there any certain things that you wanted to know further and wanted us to share with you, either through me, you can email this and I'll pick up this email and we again will contact the panelists or we could easily respond to you. So please feel free to write to us, and once again, thank you for joining our webinar. Looking forward to see all of you in our next webinar. Of course, it will be announced soon. To all the panelists, thank you very much. And to all the audience, thank you very much. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.